Hi everyone, Kachow95 here, and today we have the brand new Fireball Beach Race 4-pack. This one is super cool. We get 2 exclusive first looks. You can probably see my reflection inside the plastic. Hello there everyone. Just noticed that myself. But anyways, it is a lovely day out. It is Memorial Day weekend, so you'll probably hear, I don't know, some lawnmowers in the background, some birds or whatnot. It is just a gorgeous day. So anyways, let's just look into the box here. On the back we can see the 2 first looks, as in the Sandy Cruz Ramirez and Sandy Rusty's Racing Center Lightning McQueen. Now the only difference of these is that their tires are a little bit different and there's a little bit of sand up near their rims, or yeah, we'll go with that. And we also have Guido with a wrench, or Guido with Rusty's Racing Center tool cart. Okay, that looks pretty similar to the one from Cars, from the first Cars movie. If that makes any sense. And then an absolute exclusive is Luigi with checkered flag. So this is a very nice 4-pack. It's got a lot of exclusivity. I believe that's a word. I don't think I pronounced it right, but anyways, let's get to unboxing it. So if you couldn't already tell from the outside, the inside looks pretty identical to the Desert Race 11 pack, which makes sense, a continuous pattern. Alright guys, here's a 4-pack out of the box. And this pack is just wonderful. There's a lot to just enjoy about this pack. There's a lot of exclusivity, as I've said before. And let's just get into it. So first, I believe we'll start off with, we'll go Cruz Ramirez. Now I might be taking a little bit of a different approach. I'll be using a toothpick to sort of point out the details, because I don't really want to be showing you like this and shaking. It's a little bit different. I think it'll be easier if it's like on the ground here, just pointing out. So barring this idea from RC Cars 5, thank you, it is actually pretty genius, so let's get into it. Alright guys, here are the 3 versions of Cruz Ramirez. So on the left here we had the Sandy Cruz Ramirez, Dynaco Cruz Ramirez, and then the regular Cruz Ramirez. Now I just thought I'd throw in the Dynaco one because, you know, it's Cruz Ramirez of course, but there's really no relevance between the 2, so you can go back up on your stand, just might as well point it out. But anyways, there is no clear difference between these 2 other than the wheels, of course. But other than that, these 2 are identical, which of course they should be. Everything seems to be the same, other than the little sand marks on, of course, the Sandy Cruz Ramirez. Now anyways, I'm not sure if we will see a single release or a 2-pack release of this. That's why it does say first look, which means, you know, they're not saying it's an exclusive. They're also not saying, yeah, it's going to be in first pack, or it's going to be in a singles, or you may never see it again. So, there we go with first looks. We may not see this release, I don't know, until another 3 years, or if any, as I'm more elaborating on this. So anyways, going on to like the main feature, of course, is the sandy part. Now, we'll just show off this Cruz Ramirez, of course. So, of course, the wheels are a little bit different. Obviously, the sand, I keep saying obviously, because that's the only difference, really. She has the same rims, just a little bit white. I don't think we've ever seen these rims, like, before. There's never been like a Sandy release or a car with these type of wheels. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe there has been one before. Anyways, on the side here, there is just a little bit of sand splashing up onto our paintwork right below the Rusty's Racing Center and Team 95 little logo. Now the same sort of applies over here. Oop, not the camera, but anyways, the sandy wheels, and then a little bit of sand. This one's actually a lot cooler because, you know, it comes around the back here, so it's a lot more. There's a lot there, and then there's a lot here in the corner. Hopefully, camera's focusing. Sorry for the shaky hands. It's just always been a part of me. Anyway, so there we go. On the bottom here, the base, it is completely sandy compared to the black on the regular. But anyways, on the back, nothing too much has changed, as I said before. It shouldn't be, other than it shares the same exact decal over here. I believe those are identical. Yeah. Anyways, going onto the side here, you can see there's a little bit of sand going right here. Okay, that's actually very hard to see on camera, but there's a little bit right here, little specks, and then there's more as it gets back to the wheels over here, or the wheel over here. Now this one actually goes over the logo here. There's a little splash compared to here. This one doesn't really show as much. I believe they're identical. This one just shows like it's more prominent, and just the sand splashes up again. And there's not a lot of sand on the front here. There's not any sand on the sides here on the front. And there's a little bit of, I guess, a paint chip, or I don't know what that is. It's like a little default right there. It's not too noticeable, so I don't really mind it. But anyways, we have seen a 30-second clip of the Fireball Beach. It's where Mcqueen comes back, and there's some pretty sweet music playing in the background, not gonna lie. Probably from a montage of him coming in. He's like, what's my speed? And Crew's like, oh, I can't track it unless you're on a treadmill. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this scene before, but if you haven't, please click off this video and go check it out before I go into this. But anyways, in her right light here, my bad, she says there's a little something called Hamilton. Now that is voiced by Lewis Hamilton, and it's like a Siri type of computer voice, if that makes sense. Anyways, it lights up blue, and he like tells Cruz whatnot, and we'll go more into that in the Sandy Lightning McQueen, which we'll go into right now. Here we have our two versions of the Rusty's Racing Center Lightning McQueen, and again, nothing has changed other than this little sand decals. Oh, I clicked them. I hate when I do that. Anyways, the tires are identical, and something is super cool in the tires I'll point out later, but they do say Lightyear on them. That is a brilliant touch, and they're very hard to see, but we'll get into it in a little bit. Anyways, nothing's changed on the back, I don't believe, and nothing's changed on the side. So, of course, the only noticeable difference is the little sand marks or decals on the side. So anyways, we can put you back up front. Now we'll go more into detail on him. So he basically shares the same thing as Cruz Ramirez. Actually, we will bring her back. I'm just going to put them on top of each other just to show these decals. Of course, lightnings are a bit more prominent because this is sand colored. I don't know what to say, but it's sand on yellow, and this is sand white on red, so it's easier to see. Now his stretch out a little bit further over into the bolt area, and there on the tires, as I was saying before, it does say Lightyear on them. Let me move my hand. Lightyear there. It's very hard to see in camera, but trust me, they're there, and they're easier to see because it is an actual white compared to this sand color. Anyways, on the back here, some decals of the sand going up into this Rusty's gold bolt, still part of the bolt here. And on the back, there's nothing much, but I'm not sure if that's painted there. This little black mark. It is on this McQueen, but it's not as like noticeable. I thought it'd be like a completely different part of McQueen. Anyway, it's just a little bit thicker, if that makes any sense. On the back, there's a little bit of sand showing there, a little bit of sand showing there, nothing too much up here. And then the same thing on this side, a little sand there, a little bit of sand there, a little bit more obvious to see. And on the front shares the same expression as this one. You can move out of the way, Cruz. Same expression, same everything as said before. Now, going on to this McQueen, something that I did not mention in the Desert Race 11 pack is that this little paint job here, or Rusty's Racing Center Lightning McQueen, is that this is like a wrap or a suit, more to call it. Now, going on a few trailers and back on the Cruz Ramirez Fireball Beach scene, this suit can track his speed, which is super cool. Definitely shows the advancement of technology. And then going back on the Lewis Hamilton thing, I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but Hamilton is voiced by Lewis Hamilton, which is super cool. Nice to see him back in the movies. But Hamilton will track his speed by this suit. In the trailers, we see Lightning with this paint job on, this one here, but you know, the wrapping comes up and over, and then it's heat pressed on, which is a cool scene, again, showing the technology advancements. So I do really like this. Of course, I love this paint job, and that's pretty much it. Anyways, guys, we get into the last two characters, Luigi and Guido. Now, I really like this Luigi with checkered flag. It is really cool. Now, we'll just start off with him, I guess, since we already talked about him. Anyways, we'll compare him to the Cars 3 version that we saw in the Chester Whipple filter 3-pack or 2-pack, whatever you want to call. And the first noticeable difference for me, other than the expression, is that the eyes have gotten bigger. Now I'll get closer to the camera here. I do believe this is how Luigi should always have looked, and maybe this should have been updated for the Cars 3 version, so they just released, you know, the regular. I do believe they should have done, you know, the bigger eyes. It looks a lot more like him. Of course, you can see the Fiat logo. I'm not sure if it's changed in color. This one's a little bit less red, and this one is a lot more red. Of course, going back, it is the same thing as this. So this is really our first look at a Cars 3 Luigi. Now I don't know how to explain that, but it's a Cars 3 Luigi. On the side here, it's basically identical as the others, or as the last one. Nothing too much has changed. Maybe the silver linings here have gotten a little bit darker, and the windows have gotten a little bit darker. On the top here, probably one of the biggest changes is the roof. Now this goes from like a little bit bumpy. This one just has a little bump at the start, and then it's just flat. I do really like it though, it's super cool. Anyways, on the back here we have his license plate, which is a little bit smaller than this one. So that's a nice difference. It connects up with this little hatch to open the trunk, I believe. And you know, this one's different compared to, let's move him closer again. This one's different because it separates itself from the license. Now this here's a little bit different here, like this dot is smaller, and then a lot bigger of a rear window. Super cool. Anyways, that pretty much, oh, other than that is that also his lights here are a little bit farther apart on the Cars 3 version, which is really nice. It almost seems to me that the Cars 3 version seems to be a little bit bigger. So we can tell by the bases here, this one's a little bit, not longer, it just seems bigger. Anyways, there's nothing too much has changed. So we're going like this again, and it is basically indeed, Luigi is a little bit bigger. Very nice to see that. Now on the checkered flag, we can see Luigi here, and he will be on like a boardwalk or something like that, or something above, waving the flag, or he'll be on the ground, you know, saying to go. We've seen in the Fireball Beach Set playset that he is up on the boardwalk, but we have also seen in the trailers that he waves his flag on the beach itself. So we'll find out in the movie. Anyways guys, moving on to Guido. He is super cool with the wrench. Definitely throwback to the Cars 1 movie where he did have it. Now to prove that I used to have it, I still do have his little cart, but we will get into the carts a little bit later. The tires are part of this cart. But anyways, comparing him to the Chester Whipple Filter 3-pack Guido, it's a little bit different. Of course, I do really like these accessories. His forks are a little bit darker than this gray here, and of course he has a different expression. Smaller eyes, I guess. Very cool. On the side, nothing much has changed, but on the back, probably the most noticeable difference is that there is a little logo added here. I believe that's his model make, and there's a little Italian flag there. I'll try to get a close-up of it pretty soon. But anyways, there is just some silver lines. It's definitely a lot thicker than this one, and that's basically the difference between the two. Nothing too much has changed on this Guido compared to the differences in Luigi. Well, the final thing, and I think is actually one of the coolest, is these little carts here. Now these tires, of course, match Lightning McQueen's tires here. They're not, you know, wheel for wheel, but they're close enough. So we can just move those aside. They do have a little hole that Guido or any pity can put their fork in, you know, lift them. But anyways, that cart here, a nice accessory, always like accessories, has this super cool 95, you know, training suit or the Rusty's Racing Center logo. Just very, very nice compared to the regular 95 from the first movie. And this side is basically identical. Whoops, knocked that one down. This one has a little bit of wear and tear over the years. This one's brand new, but they are identical. Just the backs are super cool. I really like this one a lot, and I actually prefer it over this one. Anyways guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I highly recommend this pack. Definitely go out and buy it. It is definitely worth your money. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.
Cut!